After rebirth, I donated my husband's organs after his fake death. After 3 years of marriage, my husband secretly accumulated tens of millions in debt and faked a brain-dead accident to escape his creditors. My daughter and I were chased by debt collectors and eventually caught while trying to flee. No money, then you'll have to pay with yourselves. Finally, my daughter and I were sold at a high price to a merchant from country A. During the journey, I found an opportunity to call my in-laws for help. Unexpectedly, I overheard my husband and his childhood sweetheart, Leo, "You finally got rid of your wife and daughter. Our family is finally complete." Leo chuckled triumphantly. "This whole box of jewelry is yours now, along with the tens of millions we borrowed. We're financially free. All the time I spent on her was worth it. This is what we deserve. She had no parents, and now that she's dead, no one will care. She died as she should have." While my daughter and I were tortured to death by a businessman from country A, the three of them were happily preparing for their overseas trip. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my husband faked his death. Family of the patient, your husband is brain dead. Please prepare yourselves mentally. A familiar voice, and a familiar scene. My daughter's familiar crying brought me back to reality. Have I been reborn? I bit my lip hard until a sharp pain shot through. Only then was I certain that I had truly been reborn. In my previous life, I had also waited in the hospital from 1 a.m. until 3 p.m. The next day, my daughter cried for 3 hours beside me and eventually fell asleep from exhaustion. Until now, the operating room light went out, and the door opened from the inside. I couldn't handle the shock and fainted immediately after hearing the news. When I woke up again, I saw my husband's parents preparing to pack their things to take me and our daughter back to their hometown. "My son is dead. You are his wife, so you are part of the James family. Whether you live or die, you belong to the James family. Your daughter is also a part of our James family. When we grow old, you must take care of us, understand?" I was immersed in the grief of losing my husband. My heart felt lifeless, and deep down, there was even a hint of impulse wanting to take my daughter and go with him. I had no parents since childhood, and after meeting Leo, I felt warmth from him. After getting married, I tried my best to be a good wife and a good mother. I also tried to fulfill every request from my in-laws. I was afraid they would look down on me for having no parents and think I couldn't handle the roles of a wife and daughter-in-law. I habitually agreed to whatever my in-laws said. I am busy every day arranging the daily life of my in-laws and taking care of all the farm work at home. I am exhausted every day, and I consider myself a considerate daughter-in-law who understands my in-laws. When I am tired and want to rest, I get scolded by my in-laws. I had to grit my teeth and keep going until later, when the pain in my body became unbearable, and I asked to rest again. The in-laws said, "If you stop working, your daughter's mouth will have to stop too, if you rest. Where will the food for the family come from?" At first, I didn't believe they would really be willing to let their granddaughter go hungry, but I never expected that they actually would. Seeing my daughter's increasingly thin face, I came to my senses. After my husband's death, my daughter is my only concern, and I don't want to tolerate anything that affects her. Thus, I felt a hint of anger toward my in-laws, reflecting on the past. My in-laws have indeed always treated me poorly. When my husband was alive, I turned a blind eye and endured it. My husband died, and they became even more relentless, so I decided to take my daughter and leave this place. Strangely, they didn't even try to stop us. It wasn't until we returned to the old neighborhood in the city where we used to live that I understood why our departure had been so easy. While I was in my hometown, they secretly had someone sell the wedding house. Only after the money was in their hands did they feel at ease letting me return. Standing at the doorstep of the house, now with a new lock and a new owner, I was completely thunderstruck. I remembered there was still a safe in the room, containing all the jewelry I had saved up for many years. Although not particularly valuable, it is still worth a considerable amount of money. These are gone too. I was so angry that I felt weak all over, leaning against the wall. I held my daughter and couldn't help but cry. My daughter didn't say a word, as if she understood my sorrow, and silently cried by my side. As evening approached, my daughter and I had to find a place to stay. Penniless, I left with my daughter. Just as we stepped out of the neighborhood gate, we were menacingly stopped by a group of heavily tattooed men. They said that before my husband died, he had borrowed tens of millions, and the loan contract had both his and my signatures. Now that he's dead, I'm the only one left to pay the debt. Your husband owed us money and then died. Such a large sum must be repaid by you. We've checked your bank account. You have nothing but an electric scooter. How do you plan to repay it? No money to repay. If you have no money, then you'll have to pay with yourselves. They brought people to arrest me. I had to flee with my daughter, but before we could even leave this street, their people caught us. In a panic, I took out my phone to call the police. As soon as I took it out, their people knocked it to the ground. Immediately after, my daughter and I were dragged into the van by them. I proactively told them that I would go back to my hometown and have my in-laws use the money from selling the house to pay off the debt, but they didn't believe me and stubbornly thought I was trying to escape. My phone was taken away. On the way to the border city of Country A, I found an opportunity to borrow someone else's phone to call my in-laws. But unexpectedly, I heard a familiar voice. It was Leo. He's not dead. And there's the voice of his childhood friend Linda. I heard their happy laughter on the phone, and there was also a little boy's voice in the background. The three of them were discussing going abroad. My heart instantly fell from heaven to hell. It turns out, all of this was deliberately planned by their entire family. After I came out, I directly told the debt collectors that Leo isn't dead. But they still didn't believe me and slapped me right away, thinking I've gone mad. They scolded me for being dishonest. I was both angry and anxious, enduring the pain on my face while also putting up with their harsh insults. Throughout the journey, I tried countless times to escape with my child, but I failed every time. As time went on, they became increasingly strict and guarded against me and my daughter. During this time, they even refused to give us food for several days and nights to prevent us from escaping. By the time we arrived at the destination, my daughter and I were already completely exhausted, but the sense of panic in my heart grew even stronger. They handed over the money and transferred my daughter and me into their hands. My daughter and I were subjected to their inhuman torture. I begged them, telling them to take it out on me, just let my daughter go. But this was their territory, and my words had no effect at all. Seeing them bully my daughter, I started to go crazy, cursing them for not being human, for being Leo's dogs. They then beat me and treated my daughter even more harshly. I was terrified, kneeling on the ground begging for mercy. My daughter is my life, my only family in this world. For her, I can compromise on anything. Seeing me cry and beg for mercy only made them more excited. My body trembled as the chilling memories from my past life seemed to resurface. They threw me and my daughter into a room. I tried to let my daughter escape, but in the end, their people found out. They threatened me. I thought that as long as they were happy, they wouldn't focus their attention on my daughter. I compromised, but in the end, they still didn't let my daughter go. I fantasized countless times that Leo would come in time to save me and my daughter, but in the end, he still let me down. If it weren't for giving my daughter a chance to survive, I would have wanted to crash into a wall and end my life, to escape this inhuman suffering. Yet they still reached out their hands toward my daughter, watching helplessly as my daughter was tortured to death. I had no ability to fight back. Finally, I died in a foreign land, filled with resentment and hatred for Leo. So, this time, is it fate that brought me back for revenge? Brain death. Does that mean the heart is still beating but the brain is dead? I asked uncertainly. The doctor nodded, carefully observing my reaction. I lowered my head in thought. In my previous life, at this very moment, I had fainted from overwhelming grief. Then, I was taken away by my in-laws. I have no idea how Leo's body was handled. It seems they had planned everything in advance. Even my being taken back to my hometown was part of their plan. In that case, this time, I have no choice but to reluctantly accept reality. I still remember, when we first got together, my husband said that he had a hard life and had received a lot of help from others along the way. He hoped that if he were to die, he could contribute to society by donating his organs. The doctor looked shocked. Mrs. James, did Mr. James really say that? I nodded emphatically, wiping away non-existent tears from the corner of my eye. My husband has always been a kind-hearted person. He would definitely be willing to do a good deed. When my daughter grows up and learns that her father saved so many lives with his own body, she will surely be proud of him, I said with righteous determination. The nurse beside us was moved to tears. Mr. James is dedicated and deserves our respect. Mrs. James is remarkable, and Mr. James having such a wife makes him even more worthy of our respect. I glanced at the attending physician's face and noticed his hesitation, so I couldn't help but ask, Doctor, is there something wrong with the organ donation surgery? Or do you think there's an issue with the paperwork? I am his legal wife, and I will cooperate with any documents that need to be signed. The surrounding nurses chimed in. That's right, Dr. Lucas, just follow the procedure. What are you still worried about? Yes, time is life. It could save several lives. If possible, we'll notify everyone to prepare. The doctor stood still, hesitated for a few seconds, and said, we still need to ask Mr. James's parents about this. Older generations tend to be conservative, if they can't accept it. Our hospital will face endless trouble. After hearing this, the nurses also found it somewhat reasonable. All right then, since they're already on their way, it shouldn't take too long. I sniffled, pretending to be sad, and nodded. Okay, let's do as Dr. Lucas suggested. It seems that in my previous life, Dr. Lucas was also one of the accomplices in my husband's fake death. May I go in to see him? I asked. Wiping away my tears, my husband and I have a very good relationship. I love him deeply, and now that he's about to leave, I don't know how I'll manage the days ahead. Before the accident, he was a devoted father to our daughter. I want to bring our child in to see him one last time. The doctor took a deep breath, his gaze avoiding mine. All right, you can go in. I took out the special gloves from my bag, walked to the bedside in tears, looked at Leo lying quietly on the hospital bed, and took a few deep breaths. This is the man I loved for a lifetime in my past life. I thought I had found someone I could rely on. In the end, I realized he was never sincere with me and only saw me as a tool for their family of 3. Is such a man worth my sympathy? I pretended to be overwhelmed with grief, threw myself onto him, and caressed his face with a glove embedded with fine needles, clearly visible. His eyelashes trembled slightly. With a slight smile on my lips and a tearful voice, I said, Leo, how could you bear to leave me and our daughter? Without you, how could we possibly live? I sobbed, my grip tightening. Finally, I clenched my fist and struck him hard on the face and body. Seeing his body flinch almost imperceptibly, I grew even more excited. Leo, this is only the beginning. You must hold on. In your past life, you acted in front of me, pretending to be deeply in love for a lifetime. In this life, I hope you can keep up the act. Leo was beaten by me until small blood spots appeared all over his body. I wonder how painful it felt, like being pricked by fine needles. No pain could compare to what my daughter and I endured in our previous lives. Just the thought of my daughter being forced to her knees in front of me, crying and begging me to kill her instead. I wish I could tear Leo into 1,000 pieces. It was him who, for the sake of money, caused the death of my daughter and me, and those heartless debt collectors. Rage surged to my head, and at that moment, I truly felt the urge to kill. But seeing my daughter still grieving over her father's death, I held back. Leo deserves to die, but for my daughter's future, I can't let anything happen to me. In this life, I must live well and protect her completely. I clenched my fist and raised it, smashing it hard into Leo's face. The pain made his expression crack. He thought he was clever and tried to play tricks, using the momentum to roll onto the ground. Making a loud noise to attract the attention of people outside, the doctor rushed in. What's going on, Mrs. James? What are you doing? I pinched my palm hard, the pain bringing tears to my eyes. What else can I do? My daughter has no father now, and I have no husband. My heart aches. Do you think if he hadn't gone out to drink with his friends, this wouldn't have happened? What's so fun about going out? It would have been better to stay home with me and our daughter. I hate it. I hate that I didn't stop him from going out, and I hate why he had to go out in the middle of the night. Now look what happened. He's dead. I hunched over, crawled forward, and moved to Leo's side, ready to throw a few more punches, but the doctor stopped me. You, how dare you hit someone? What kind of gloves are these? Ha! These gloves were a gift from my husband last year. I ride an electric scooter every day to pick up and drop off my daughter from school, so he specially bought these gloves for me. They have excellent anti-slip effects. How could they not be? They're either studded with rivets or have needle-like spikes exposed. They're very convenient for hitting people. The doctor called for someone to come in, moved Leo onto the bed, then turned and glared at me. You knocked him to the ground. Even if you were hitting him, you shouldn't have done it with gloves on. Tears welled up in my eyes again. This was the last gift he gave me. I just wanted to take it out and let him see it one more time. What if he still has some consciousness and suddenly comes back to life? I carefully observed the doctor's micro-expressions and noticed how he guiltily looked down and around. The suspicion in my heart grew stronger. The dead cannot be brought back to life. Please try to control your emotions, the head nurse beside me comforted. I nodded and swallowed hard. Once we left the ward, I couldn't help but urge, let's just sign the papers quickly. I can't take it anymore. I'm afraid I might lose control again. couldn't control myself and ended him right away. This man, living even one more second in this world, is a disrespect to all the good people in it. As Leo's legal wife, I can fully sign the organ donation agreement once the signature is in place. It won't matter if his parents rush over. The head nurse, seeing my daughter and me looking haggard and crying as if we were about to die, softened and nodded. How about this? After you sign, take your daughter home to rest. We'll start preparing, and we can discuss it further when his parents arrive. No, the doctor exclaimed urgently. Head nurse, why not? Look at the state she's in. Her husband just died, and his wife is emotionally shattered. Do you really want her to stay in the hospital and watch her husband's heart, eyes, and kidneys being removed? Organ donation is inherently a difficult and noble act. It's agonizing for the family, but for other families, it means a new life. We need to take care of their emotions. The head nurse asked me to wait in the office. I took my daughter's hand and sat down in a daze. Suddenly, I remembered Leo had also said those words. Only he had said them to someone else while secretly making a phone call in the bathroom. He stayed in there for almost 2 full hours. Everything had its signs. I was just too foolish back then to notice these details. When the hospital staff came over, I didn't hesitate to sign my name on the organ donation agreement. At this moment, I am immensely grateful for the rights granted by the marriage certificate. Leo, weren't you pretending to be dead? If I must die, let it be for a worthy cause. Repaying the life you owed me and our daughter from our past life. A commotion echoed through the hospital hallway. Once the staff had gathered the documents, I followed them out, just in time to see Leo, my parents, and the doctor getting into a fight. You killed my son, I'll fight you to the death. My son was perfectly fine yesterday, and today he died in your hands. There isn't a single wound on his body. You must have hated him for taking your girlfriend, held a grudge, and took this chance to kill him. I'm going to fight you to the death. Give me back my son's life. I watched coldly as they descended into chaos, and when my daughter was about to rush over to help her grandparents, I quickly grabbed her hand. I raised my daughter to be kind and obedient from a young age, and in her world, she still believes that everyone around her is a good person. But I will never forget the desperate look in my daughter's eyes before she died in my previous life. Kara, it's dangerous over there, don't go. Watching this scene, I was certain that my in-laws were still in the dark about their own son at this very moment. They truly believed Leo was dead. Leo's family member, please try to persuade your in-laws, or we'll have to call the police. The head nurse called out to me from the side, but I looked into the distance, frowning and sighing. Maybe you should just call the police. My in-laws at home often. The rest of the sentence was left unfinished. But the head nurse, being a woman herself, instantly understood the words I hadn't fully spoken. People who are arrogant and domineering outside don't change their nature when they come home. I'm not lying about this. My in-laws have never been easy to get along with and have given me a hard time more than once. In the past, I respected them as elders and always tried to please them, but now it's different. Seeing the situation escalating, they quickly called the police. As a result, my in-laws spotted me and glared angrily. Are you blind? Can't you see we're being bullied? Hurry up and come help. I trembled all over, pretending to be scared. Stop fighting, the police are coming soon. If this continues, it'll be hard to handle. No sooner had the words been spoken than the mother-in-law's face turned green with anger. Call the police. Who called them? I'm going to kill him. Such a trivial matter and you call the police. If you have the guts, face me one-on-one. The mother-in-law's aggressive behavior intensified, and even the father-in-law's emotions flared up, treating human life as worthless. I'll beat you quack doctors to death. I dare you to call the police. A crowd had gathered around, pointing fingers at the in-laws, and the hospital security rushed over to intervene. After being restrained, the in-laws looked disheveled and seemed on the verge of a furious outburst. Unable to move, she raised her voice and urged me, go now. Kill the person who caused your husband's death. It's him, George. He has always liked Linda, but Linda likes your husband. George held a grudge and deliberately caused your husband's death. I frowned and looked accusingly at Dr. George. Since they were love rivals, why would George help Leo? I sneered inwardly. Could it be that Linda begged him? Watching my in-laws hopping with anxiety, I leisurely asked, Dr. George, is what they said true? Such accusations are fatal for a doctor. No one would choose to admit it, even if they did. Baseless slander. Very well, even at this point, he still refuses to admit that Leo faked his death. No matter what his reasons are, he is one of the accomplices. Don't worry, I won't let any accomplice who harmed me and my daughter get away with it. The police walked in and directly escorted my in-laws into the car. Dr. George refused to get into the police car at all costs. He stared straight at me, his face showing a hint of anxiety and panic. I sneered, thinking that he must be worried that Leo would immediately undergo an organ donation surgery after he left. Dr. George, do you have something to say to me? I stared at him meaningfully. If not, you'd better come clean with the police. Seeing this, the in-laws stood up angrily and shouted, "What do you mean? Does that mean he doesn't have to go to the police station? Why should the person who caused my son's death not be investigated? Are you trying to protect him?" The in-laws went back and forth, relentlessly arguing in front of everyone. Finally, George had no choice but to get into the police car and be taken away. Leo was taken into the operating room, and the recipient was moved next door. Waiting for Leo's heart to be removed and transplanted while it was still warm, before they could proceed, I covered my beaming face, pretending to be heartbroken, and pleaded, "Can I go in and say a few last words to him?" The doctor hesitated for a moment, then nodded, "Make it quick." The only sounds left in the hospital room were the beeps of various machines. I didn't bring our child in. She doesn't have memories of her past life, and I didn't want her to see this scene. I leaned close to Leo's ear and whispered, "Honey, have you been lying in bed for a long time, wondering why you've been moved again, and why you've been given anesthesia? I have some good news for you. Originally, your parents were supposed to send you to be cremated, but just now, your mom, dad, and Dr. George were all taken away by the police. Now, there's really no one left who can save you. I've donated your organs. When I get out, the heart, kidneys, and eyes in your body will be taken out and transplanted into someone else. You wanted to die, didn't you? In this lifetime, I'll make it happen for you, letting you die early, and die meaningfully. Once your body is hollowed out, all of us will remember your greatness. Oh, and me, as your wife, I'll also bask in the glory you've brought. We're not divorced yet. It's my signature that allows you to do good, using your body to save others' lives. All of them will be grateful to me. And some family members even said that if I ever need help, I can always turn to them. Reporters will soon come to me to cover your organ donation story. This halo of honor will allow my daughter to live a very good life. Don't be too angry. Go in peace. What's the use of being angry? You can't even jump around anymore." The corner of my mouth lifted slightly, and seeing something resembling tears welling up in Leo's eyes, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Why are you crying? Consider it atonement for the sins of your past life." The surgery proceeded quickly. Once the doctor placed the heart into a special toolbox, it was immediately taken to another operating room. Just as I was about to leave with my daughter after achieving my goal, my in-laws and Dr. George unexpectedly rushed back. "You wretch, who gave you permission to sign and donate my son's organs? You vicious, wicked woman. If anything happens to my son, I'll fight you to the death today." My mother-in-law glared at me with a venomous look, slapping me across the face again and again. "How dare you? You think you can make decisions for this family? Are you that eager to see my son die?" Holding my swollen face, I quickly grabbed my daughter who was about to fight for me, pretending to be clueless, and said, "Mom, how could I want him dead? He's a good man and a good father. I'd rather die myself than see him dead." "Then go die. You go die." My mother-in-law, as if gone mad, reached out again. This time, I was prepared and immediately stopped her. "Now that your son is dead, of course I can't die. I still have a daughter to raise." I deliberately provoked her. "Go crazy. The crazier the better. If you don't go crazy, how will you get into a mental hospital?" Sure enough, as soon as she heard that her son was dead, her face changed dramatically. Nearly lost my balance, gasping for breath. "What? The organs have already been removed." No, my son isn't dead. He was faking it." "George, say something. Didn't you just say my son was pretending?" Dr. George broke out in a cold sweat. He had indeed been afraid of causing trouble earlier, which was why he couldn't help but secretly tell them the truth when he was taken aside for questioning after getting out of the car. Unfortunately, it was still a step too late. I watched coldly as my in-laws grabbed George and went berserk. It was clear that George had no desire to resist. Probably scared out of his wits. If he admits it now, he would be suspected of intentional homicide. After all, it was he who declared Leo brain dead and did not step in to stop the organ donation agreement from being signed. Now that the deed is done, unless he wants to ruin his own future, he won't admit that Leo faked his death. The three of them struggled for a while, and after being pulled apart, they alerted the hospital's leadership. after all. If it were true that someone faked their death and then had their organs donated, it would certainly cause a huge uproar in the outside world. What's going on, Dr. George? You need to be honest and explain clearly. Is Leo really faking his death? You need to think carefully. Right now, Leo's organs have already been transplanted into someone else. If he was faking his death, you'll pay with your life, under layers of pressure. George's face turned pale, and he trembled as he said, No. He wasn't faking his death. He was truly brain dead. The outcome was as expected, and everyone present breathed a sigh of relief, except for Leo's parents. You clearly said something different just now, George. You deserve to die a horrible death. The in-laws were about to go crazy. You are all murderers. Give me back my son's life. Seeing the in-laws scold everyone present, some even spitting at them, they were quickly taken away, their faces filled with despair. And later broke down crying, their wails heard throughout the entire hospital. After everyone in the room had left, George, with bloodshot eyes, ran up to me and demanded, "Why were you in such a hurry to have him undergo the organ donation surgery?" I pretended to be innocent. Didn't they say that for organ donations like the heart, it has to be transferred while it's still beating to be useful? Someone is waiting to use it, anyway. Leo is dead and can't use it anymore. So why not strike while the iron is hot and transfer it away? There's no need to be in such a hurry, George said through gritted teeth. I laughed. So, George, what are you trying to say? As Leo's wife, I haven't even suspected you of conspiring with Linda, his childhood friend, to harm my husband. The smile at the corner of my mouth irritated George. He suddenly realized, you knew he faked his death. I laughed and shook my head. What if I did? What if I didn't? Didn't he achieve his goal? The huge debts he incurred outside have all fallen on me. George looked shocked. So you really knew about it? You killed Leo, George accused loudly. I sneered. Dr. George, you're really good at twisting the truth. First, it was you who declared him brain dead, which is medically considered a state of death. Before that, I did nothing. His death has nothing to do with me. If there's any connection at all, it's only with himself and you. Second, after borrowing money outside, he transferred all of it to Linda's account. If he dies, the debt collectors will only come after me. Do you think he ever considered letting me and my daughter live? I am not afraid at all. Even if this matter is exposed to the public, I can still walk away unscathed, from beginning to end. I have been a victim dragged into this situation by them. Moreover, no one in this world can prove that I knew about Leo's fake death beforehand. After all, no one knows that I was reborn. I took my daughter out of the hospital and went to a law firm, where I found a family lawyer and asked for help in dealing with the loan that Leo had transferred to Linda's account. With all the evidence collected, I filed a lawsuit against Linda to demand repayment before Leo was cremated. Lisa, how dare you have the nerve to ask me for money? I haven't even settled the score with you over Leo's death yet. Leo's body isn't even cold yet, and you're already rushing to bully me and his son. If he knew, he would never let you get away with it. Your in-laws won't let you off either. Without even looking up, I said directly, stop the nonsense. Just tell me when you're going to pay back the money. If you don't, I'll just tell those people that the money is all in your hands. It'll be more convenient for them to come straight to you. I've known for a while that Leo had a childhood sweetheart, but seeing her today, I was somewhat disappointed. She looks like a delicate, innocent type, probably just the kind the debt collectors would like. I thought to myself, she thought a few threats would make me obedient, but she didn't know I was no longer the submissive Lisa from my past life. Linda, both angry and resentful, seeing that she couldn't threaten me, began to play the victim. She cried, tears and snot streaming down her face. Lisa, please let me go. Leo is really dead now, and I don't know how to go on. I still have a son. I sneered inwardly. I had said those very words in my past life, but after waiting and suffering for so long, no one was willing to spare me or my daughter, and all of this was caused by Leo and the woman standing before me. So, why should I forgive them? I smiled faintly. Before you conspired to set me up, did you ever think of leaving me a way out? You didn't. So why are you asking me to give you one now? Linda lowered her head and thought for a moment. If you're unwilling, then we'll both be destroyed. I'm going to sue you. You're the one who killed Leo. George told me, you knew all along that he faked his death, didn't you? I calmly shook my head. I didn't know. He's the doctor, so what he says goes. I'm just an ordinary person. How would I know if it was real or fake death? Okay, I get it. You don't want to pay up. I've already informed the people Leo borrowed money from. I've sent them the information about Leo transferring the money to your account. Leo is dead, and the money is in your hands. They already know your home address. Don't worry, they'll come to you for the money. After saying this, I ignored the furious Linda. I admit that in this life and the previous one, I have never harmed anyone, but if someone harms me, I am only giving them a taste of their own medicine. A debt of tens of millions is no small matter. The lenders, having just lent the money a few days ago, naturally panicked upon learning that the borrower had died. No sooner had I left than the debt collectors stopped Linda. This time, I even gave George a heads up in advance. I'm curious to see how much George likes Linda and to what extent he would go for her. On the day of Leo's cremation, I dressed up and attended. When my in-laws saw me, they immediately wanted to vent their emotions and hit me. Unfortunately for them, this time, I won't give them the chance to hurt me. The debt collector brought two underlings and immediately blocked the elderly couple as soon as they entered. You must be Leo's parents. Your son borrowed a lot of money and transferred it to the account of the woman he's keeping outside. Now there's still some interest missing. You should help her pay it back, the debt collector said with a smirk. There are still some relatives of the James family at the funeral home, and they were all furious when they saw this scene. Today is the day my son is being cremated. What are your intentions for coming here today? What intentions? Of course, it's to deliberately upset you. I thought to myself, could it be that they came to help you celebrate? A few thugs laughed and said, I don't care what day it is. If you don't pay the interest, and you're like Linda, only caring about money, not your lives, then you'll have to come with us, just like her. With a wave of the thug's hand, several people immediately stepped forward to grab them. I pretended to offer well-meaning advice. Mom, Dad, today is Leo's day. You'd better hurry and get the money to pay them back. My in-laws scowled and pointed at me, saying, you're still his legal wife, so if anyone should repay it, it's you. I sneered. I wasn't present when Leo borrowed the money, and the signature was forged by you. The money wasn't used for our family's expenses. The lawyer said I have the right to refuse. The money was all spent on Linda. I should be the one demanding the return of our marital assets from her. If she refuses to pay now, she'll have to settle the debt with your grandson. At this moment, the in-laws were completely shocked. What? How dare she? How could she use my grandson to pay off debts? If anyone should pay, it's her. If it weren't for her, my son would never have even thought of borrowing money. She is the one who caused my son's death. It was her who made my son fake his death, and had that wretched doctor, her old flame, fake my son's death. No way. I'm going to kill that wretched woman. If my grandson suffers even the slightest harm, I'll kill her entire family. The mother-in-law was cursing non-stop, spewing vulgarities, as if she wanted to curse Linda's ancestors for 18 generations. I felt like laughing out loud deep down. This is just your failed attempt to set me up. Otherwise, you'd be pocketing a huge sum of money while cursing me for deserving it. With the plan failed, all you can do is curse at each other. Suddenly, I remembered that when my daughter was just born, my in-laws didn't show much joy on their faces. I suppose it was because they had a grandson, so they weren't particularly thrilled about the granddaughter I gave birth to. Now that Leo is dead, they are being pressured to repay their debts. Unfortunately, Linda is money-grubbing and would rather die than pay back the money. What awaits them can only be mutual conflict after. Amidst the curses, Leo was pushed into the crematorium. After my in-laws were taken away by debt collectors, I ran to a gathering place for stray dogs, holding the urn. Glancing at the urn that disgusted me, I opened the lid and scattered the ashes inside the area where food was stored. Only after seeing a dog licking the ashes did I clap my hands, brush off my sleeves, and leave. Later, I heard that Linda still couldn't bring herself to return the money in the account. She refused to believe the worst, thinking those people wouldn't dare to do anything to her and her son. But she was too confident in herself. Once those people are pushed to the edge, they are capable of doing anything. She was hastily sent overnight to a border town in Country A, and her bank cards had long been taken by those people, who withdrew all the money, because Linda had previously relied on her good looks to deceive those people. She angered one of the leaders. In the end, she lost all her money and was sent away to that place. After Leo's death, my in-laws suffered a huge blow, and their mental state often became unstable. On the day of the cremation, after being taken away and threatened, they became even more unstable. After that, they would go over from time to harass them, pressuring them to repay the money. They were already under immense mental pressure, and when they learned that their only grandson in this world had been sent to country A with no news of whether he was alive or dead, they completely broke down and went insane. They searched for their grandson on the streets every day, and before long, they injured some passers-by and several children. Nearby residents have strong opinions, and after they complained, they were sent to a mental hospital for treatment. After the matter was settled, I bought gifts and went with my daughter to the law firm to thank the lawyer. This lawyer is a senior I knew when I was in college. He made a name for himself earlier and has some status in the industry. In addition, he is a person who values loyalty and has many friends from all walks of life. If it weren't for his willingness to help me this time, my affairs wouldn't have been resolved so smoothly. Afterward, I sold the house and planned to take the money and move to a new place with my daughter. This city holds many beautiful memories, but more than that, it reminds me of the tragedies my daughter and I experienced in our past life. I don't want to recall these memories at all. I moved to another city and plan to pursue a graduate degree once my daughter is a bit older. I'll have time to start working again. Everything is moving toward a brighter future, leaving behind the dark memories of the past. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My husband called me to the hospital in the middle of the night, asking me to perform surgery on his first love, Penny. When I arrived, Penny was lying pale on the hospital bed, and the diagnosis at the foot of the bed read, uremia, urgently requiring a kidney transplant. I told him she was in the late stage and that surgery couldn't be performed without a matching donor, but my husband misunderstood, thinking I was jealous, and slapped me, yelling, "Are you even a doctor? Are you just going to stand by and watch her die? Just match a few more, and you'll find one, won't you?" I nodded and said, "Indeed, it has. Your kidney is a match for hers. You should donate it." As soon as I finished speaking, my husband's expression changed. He frowned and said, "At a time like this, what kind of joke is that?" I spoke coldly, "Jason, don't you know how scarce kidney donors are?" Jason's eyebrows shot up, his voice tinged with anger. "If it weren't urgent, would I come to you? You're my wife. Can't you even help with this?" I let out a bitter laugh, my gaze falling on their tightly clasped hands. "So you do remember I'm your wife? Oh, Jason, don't be so impatient. Hurry up and apologize to Dr. Sarah." Penny spoke up, a fake smile on her face as she held on to Jason's hand and refused to let go. "Dr. Sarah, don't misunderstand. There's nothing between Jason and me. He's just concerned about my condition." I forced myself to suppress the urge to punch her in the face and said coldly, "I'm not misunderstanding anything. The only help I can offer right now is to get you on dialysis immediately." I waved my hand, signaling the nurse to take Penny for blood tests and other examinations. Jason, however, didn't follow. Instead, he stopped me as I tried to leave. "Sarah," he said, struggling to contain his anger, "do you have to make me lose face? Is it me who made you lose face? Or is it you who made me lose face? You didn't go to the specialized hospital in the south of the city, so why bring the patient to me, just to let others laugh at me? This really makes me angry. It's true that we are a top-tier hospital, and I am indeed a chief physician in the nephrology department, with a certain reputation in the field. However, less than 20 kilometers from our hospital is ZN Nephrology Specialized Hospital, ranked third in the country. In terms of nephrology alone, the professionalism of their equipment is beyond what our hospital can match. Why did it have to be brought to me? And why are you being all lovey-dovey in front of me? Do I not have any dignity? What are you making a fuss about? Who's laughing at you? She's just an old classmate of mine." Jason was clearly on the verge of anger, but for some reason, he held it back and forced a smile as he spoke. "Sarah, let's set aside the misunderstandings between us for now. This is a matter of life and death. I need to ask you something first." "What do you want to ask? What is your blood type?" Jason stared at my face without blinking. As I met his scrutinizing gaze, a chill surged through me, instantly enveloping my entire body. "I understand. Even though ZN Hospital has a higher priority for kidney allocation, Jason sent Penny to the hospital where I work because he has his eyes on my kidney. He wants me to give my kidney to his white moonlight." I could barely breathe, as if a huge stone were pressing on my chest. Jason must have already taken Penny to ZN Hospital, but they didn't find a matching kidney donor. This is almost certain. The first step in kidney matching is ensuring the blood type follows transfusion compatibility, and Penny's blood type is O. Blood type O originally has the highest proportion, accounting for up to 47% of the population, Blood type O is also known as the universal donor type, as it can be accepted by individuals with type A, B, or AB blood without causing rejection. However, as a recipient, the situation is reversed for type O individuals. They can only receive blood transfusions or organ transplants from other type O donors. This results in the lowest probability of matching a kidney donor for type O patients, at only 47%, which matches their population proportion. In contrast, other blood types have a minimum match rate of over 70%, with type AB even reaching 100%. Kidney sources are extremely scarce to begin with, and matching is also very complex. Penny's blood type alone filters out 53% of potential donors, making the probability of a successful match nearly zero. Therefore, the only option left for Penny to get a kidney transplant is through a directed donation. This means finding a healthy person with the same O blood type to specifically donate their kidney to her. That's why Jason came to me. I am type O. I took a deep breath and stared back at Jason. Lying was pointless. Since Jason asked this question, he must have already confirmed my blood type. After all, we have been married for 5 years, but precisely because we have been married for 5 years, even though I already knew what he intended to do, I still wanted to hear him say those words himself. Can you really say that, Jason? Jason can say it, he said casually. How about you donate one to her? I just felt a chill all over my body and looked at him in disbelief. Jason's gaze burned into me. Anyway, you have 2 kidneys. Giving her one to save her life isn't too much to ask, is it? Something caught in my throat, and I struggled to speak. Jason, are you crazy? What do you mean, crazy? Jason looked righteous. You're a doctor. Isn't it your duty to treat and save lives? Besides, don't you doctors always say that having just one kidney doesn't affect normal life? What? Is this line just to trick others into donating? When it comes to you doctors yourselves, it doesn't work anymore. I looked at him sadly, at this man who should have cared for and cherished me, yet was scheming to take one of my kidneys. Yes, if one maintains good dietary and lifestyle habits, controls their daily routine, exercises regularly, and undergoes regular health checkups, one kidney is sufficient to meet the body's normal needs. In fact, there are over 1 million people nationwide who are born with only one kidney. 1 in every 1,200 people, and most of them never even know they were born with a single kidney. But why? Why should I donate my kidney to a mistress? My colleagues at the hospital started looking at me strangely. They huddled in small groups, whispering in corners, exchanging meaningful glances with each other when I approached. Bits and pieces of their conversations drifted into my ears, filled with all sorts of speculations. What's the deal with Dr. Sarah's husband? He's having an affair, that's what. Having an affair is one thing, but bringing the other woman to our hospital and openly flaunting their relationship, that's just too much, isn't it? I heard it's actually Dr. Sarah who wronged her husband. Look, they've been married for 7 years and still haven't had a child. Is Dr. Sarah busy? Besides, she's only 28, so it's normal if she doesn't want to have children yet. No, look how much Dr. Sarah loves children. I heard she wants to have a baby, but she can't. What's the reason? When a woman can't have children, it's usually one of a few reasons. Either she was born with underdeveloped organs, or she didn't take care of herself later on. Under various strange gazes and sighs of sudden realization, I walked toward Penny's hospital room. The moment I pushed the door open, I saw Penny leaning in Jason's arms. The two of them intimately close, completely oblivious to anyone else. Penny now needs dialysis twice a week. Her complexion has turned much grayer, and her whole body appears somewhat swollen. Jason was feeding Penny crucian carp soup. Crucian carp soup is rich in nutrients and has a delicious flavor, requiring little salt or seasoning, making it very suitable for a uremia patient like Penny. However, crucian carp are small and have many fine bones, with a level of meticulousness and patience I had never seen before. Jason was carefully picking out the bones one by one for Penny. No need to be so meticulous. She has uremia, not hyperplegia, I said coldly. She's in this state, and you're still saying such things. Do you even have a conscience? Jason showed no guilt at being caught. With an equally cold expression, he questioned me. Where have you been these past few days? Is it not allowed for me to treat other patients? She's not the only one in the world with kidney disease. I retorted without holding back. Jason's eyebrows shot up, and he spoke angrily. I asked the nurses, and they said you haven't been to work at all these past few days. I can't take it anymore. Is it wrong that I feel too ashamed to face anyone? Is it wrong that I don't want to see you being all lovey-dovey with her at my workplace, picking out fish bones for her? Dr. Sarah, you've misunderstood. Jason and I are classmates. He's just taking care of me out of pity. There's nothing between us, Penny spoke up, turning to Jason with a pitiful look. Jason, forget it. I don't want to be treated anymore. Don't blame Dr. Sarah. Without a kidney donor, there's nothing Dr. Sarah can do. If you want to blame anyone, blame me for having this terminal illness. Penny struggled to get up, but Jason held her down firmly. Penny, focus on getting better. Don't worry about anything else. He turned to me, his face filled with fury. Sarah, are you even human? Are you determined to push her to her death? What would it cost you to just donate a kidney and save her? Jason's eyes were bloodshot, staring at me intently. After 5 years of marriage, I never knew you could be so vicious. How on earth did you become a doctor? Huh. I laughed bitterly in my rage. How absurd it is that a man who deliberately pressures his wife to donate a kidney to save his mistress has the audacity to righteously accuse his wife of being vicious. Blood rushed to my brain in an instant, and I spoke resolutely. Jason, don't say I didn't give you and your old classmate a chance. Earlier, when I said I'd start the matching process with you, I wasn't joking. Your blood type is also O. Pulling out 2 copies of the organ-designated donation intent form, I provocatively threw them in Jason's face. If you sign this intent form, I'll sign it too. With a sharp crack, Jason was clearly taken aback. He looked down at the 2 agreements fluttering to the floor, a hint of panic in his eyes. What do you mean? To save Penny, only 1 kidney is needed. Why sign 2 letters of intent? I spoke mockingly. Jason, a kidney transplant isn't just about matching blood types to ensure the success rate. Human leukocyte antigen, HLA, matching is necessary. The more matching antigens, the higher the success rate. In addition to blood type and white blood cell antigens, there's another key factor, the lymphocyte crossmatch test. This is an extremely critical step that directly determines whether a kidney transplant can proceed. Generally speaking, due to factors like fluid exchange, most couples test negative, meaning they are suitable for transplantation, I said meaningfully. Jason's eyes instantly cleared up a lot. He leaned down and gently wiped the corner of Penny's mouth. Penny, what would you like to eat tonight? How about I make some chicken soup for you? Penny wasn't buying it at all. Her eyes lit up as she grabbed Jason's hand and said, Jason, would you be willing to donate a kidney to save me? Jason tried to subtly pull his hand back, avoiding eye contact. Of course I want to save you, but a man's kidney is very important. I've heard it can affect male function, so I need to discuss it with my wife, right, Sarah? He looked at me. Nonsense, I replied without hesitation. Even if there really is an impact, I agree. I added another blow. Jason froze, letting out a low growl. Sarah, are you crazy? Whether I'm crazy or not doesn't matter. You wouldn't be unwilling to donate, would you? I looked at Jason with satisfaction. She's your old classmate, your first love. So young. Are you really going to just watch her die? A human life is at stake, and you can't even part with a mere kidney. Are you even human? Do you have a conscience? Jason's face instantly turned beet red. He panted heavily, glanced at Penny, who was looking at him with hopeful eyes, and then looked at me. Fine, I'll sign. Gritting his teeth, he glared at me. I'll take the bet with you. Let's see whose kidney is more suitable for transplanting to Penny. I picked up the 2 letters of intent from the floor, signed my name on one of them, and handed it to Jason. Jason snatched my pen fiercely, but hesitated for a moment as he was about to sign. You won't cheat, will you? No, if you cheat, you know the consequences. With a menacing threat, Jason picked up the 2 letters of intent and strode out of the hospital room. A faint sigh was heard. Sarah, does he know how hard you're trying to protect him? It was Penny. The pitiful look on her face had completely vanished, replaced by a chilling smile. For a man like this, are you willing to turn against your longtime best friend? Is it worth it? So you still remember that we've been best friends for years? I looked at Penny, my feelings complicated. Of course I remember. How could I ever forget? Penny looked at me with a smile. After all, it was you who stabbed me in the back at the most critical moment. Sarah, Penny's smile was radiant. But the coldness in her eyes sent chills down my spine. Shaking my head slightly, I let out a sigh. Jason had been lying from the very beginning. Penny was never his old classmate. She was mine. We had been close since our school days. From junior high, we were good friends. From junior high to high school, and then to university, we were inseparable. It wasn't until the second semester of our senior year that we began our internships. Penny and I were both assigned to the nephrology department for our internship. Our mentor was a nationally renowned expert in nephrology. At the time, our mentor was already in his 70s. He had long since retired, and his re-employment contract with the hospital was about to expire. He was soon to leave the medical career he had dedicated his entire life to. The reason he was willing to mentor the two of us interns was to contribute the last of his energy and expertise. Near the end of the internship, our mentor told us that he had a recommendation slot that could directly secure us a position in the nephrology department of the city's third hospital, along with a permanent staff appointment. The city's third hospital is where I currently work. It's a top-tier hospital with an extremely high starting point, not to mention the added benefit of a permanent position. Both Penny and I really wanted that slot. Penny is smarter than me, has better grades, and is more socially adept. She always managed to make our mentor smile every day, and she firmly believed that he would definitely choose her, but the mentor chose me. Penny left without saying goodbye, and when I saw her again, she was leaning against Jason, looking frail and sickly. When it comes to betrayal, who exactly betrayed whom? But I don't want to argue with Penny. Penny is a very strong-willed person. Once she's made up her mind, she won't change her views because of what others say. It seems you won't rest until you take Jason's kidney, I said coldly. Either yours or Jason's, you choose, Penny said bluntly. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Jason the truth, that the only reason you got close to him was to get back at me and take his kidney? The anger in me was starting to spiral out of control. Penny was too arrogant, as if all of this was completely justified. No one owes you anything, Penny. Penny scoffed at my anger and threats. You can give it a try and see whether he believes you or me. Just as I was about to speak, the door suddenly swung open, and Jason walked in. Penny suddenly jumped out of bed, her hair disheveled as she threw herself into Jason's arms, tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms in the rain. Jason, I'm not getting treatment anymore. I'm going home to wait for death, so I won't be in Dr. Sarah's way anymore. Jason's hair practically stood on end, through gritted teeth. He spat out each word one by one. Get out of here. Watching Jason's contorted face and Penny's triumphant gaze, I had nothing to say and could only let out a loud laugh. No need for more words. I turned and walked out of the ward. At the doorway, I suddenly looked back and gave Jason a cold glance. There's something I forgot to tell you. The reason I had you sign that letter of intent is that I've actually already obtained your matching report. You and Penny have the same blood type, the same tissue type. The cross-match showed no rejection, and you even have 4 matching HLA antigens, and generally, as long as there are 2 or more, a transplant can be performed. For target matches indicate one thing. I smiled at Jason and said maliciously, Jason, your kidney is destined to be hers. I took a month off. I really didn't want to stay in the hospital and be the subject of others' gossip. Besides, the nephrology department has more than just me as a doctor. Penny's dialysis doesn't require my presence at all, but over the past month, Jason almost blew up my phone. I saw Jason again at the entrance of the hospital dormitory. Jason had come specifically to intercept me. He no longer had his previous arrogance or aggressiveness. He stood haggardly in the cold wind outside the dormitory gate. When he saw me come out, he hurried a few steps forward and forced a faint smile. Sarah, let's have a serious talk. I frowned at him. What else do you want to talk about? Don't get angry first. I think there seem to be a lot of misunderstandings between us. What misunderstandings? These past few days, I've been reflecting on my actions and realized that some of my behavior has indeed crossed the line. Jason was very sincere, and I responded non-committally. And then, these actions have truly caused you harm and distress, and they've also sparked some negative discussions about you. I apologize to you. But, I interrupted him without hesitation. A flicker of anger crossed Jason's face. He paused for a moment, then continued earnestly, you know, I'm someone who values emotions deeply. I always thought that was a strength, but now I realize it can also make me lack a sense of boundaries. Take Penny, for example. She lost both her parents at a young age. Back in school, we all felt sorry for her and treated her like a little sister. After graduation, things should have naturally faded. But not long ago, she suddenly reached out to me, saying she had been diagnosed with uremia. I couldn't help but let my sympathy take over and promised I would save her. You know what kind of person I am. I'm straightforward, and when I care about someone, I pour my heart and soul into it. I ended up making Penny dependent on me, and I myself started to see her almost like a little sister. He looked deeply pained. I know, it's all my fault. You can scold me, hit me, even take a knife to me, as long as you don't feel wronged. Wait, I couldn't take it anymore and cut Jason's performance short. If I let him go on any longer, I was afraid I'd burst out laughing on the spot. Yes, I'm not wronged. I just want to laugh. At the same time, I feel a bit emotional. Jason does have some talent. With his expressions and his smooth talking skills, his mood swings can be excused as not wanting to pretend in front of me. His betrayal, he explains, is because he is kind-hearted and overly compassionate. His mouth can utter the most simple and sincere words of affection, paired with his heartfelt expression, which completely captivates me. This is also the reason why, despite knowing his hot temper, I still married him like a moth drawn to a flame. A single phrase, I am a person who values emotions deeply, made me fall for him completely, until I realized it was actually a standard line used by scumbags. You treat Penny like your own sister. I retorted, yes, I know this is wrong. Would you sleep with your own sister, and without a condom? I sneered sarcastically. Jason, both embarrassed and furious, turned beet red in an instant. Sarah, don't jump to conclusions. Nothing happened. I have a photo of you and Penny in bed together on my phone. I pressed on relentlessly. Damn, I'm a straightforward person and tend to offend others easily. Someone must be messing with me, really. I looked at him skeptically. Really, I swear, if I cheated, I'd be worse than a pig or a dog, and my whole family would be animals. A hint of delight flashed in Jason's eyes. In that case, I can only suggest that Penny terminate the pregnancy. I was full of regret. While Jason stood frozen in place, Jason's expression was a mix of emotions: shame, anger, confusion, and surprise. What did you just say? I pressed further. The vow Jason just made was so eloquent that I wanted to hear it again. Unfortunately, Jason didn't give me the chance to enjoy it. He stepped forward, staring straight at me. Penny is pregnant. A foul, beastly smell lingered around my nose, and it seemed to come from a family of animals. Yes. Is it yours? I took a big step back before speaking. Of course not. Jason shook his head reflexively. So I suggest Penny have an abortion, I said calmly. Jason finally snapped out of it, his face flushed. Why have an abortion? Because Penny is in the late stages of uremia and already needs dialysis 3 times a week to stay alive, and pregnancy would severely increase the burden on her kidneys, causing multiple complications that could lead to the mother's death in a short time. I looked directly into Jason's eyes. So all uremia patients are required to terminate their pregnancies. How long has she been pregnant? 5 months. It must have been conceived before she was hospitalized. During that time, Jason said he was traveling to Hong Kong, but in the scenic photos he sent me, I noticed 2 figures leaning against each other in the reflection. I silently added this thought to myself: why can't it be seen? Because she has uremia, the fetus is developing slowly, and she has ascites. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I smiled. This is the patient's privacy. Why should I tell you? Who are you to her? Jason was at a loss for words, and he suddenly knelt down, heavily kneeling on the concrete floor. Jason looked up and pleaded, Sarah, I beg you, save Penny and protect the child in her womb. I'll agree to any compensation you ask for. Just save her, save the child. It should have been a satisfying moment, yet I didn't feel happy at all, only a sigh in my heart. This is the second time Jason has knelt before me. The last time was when he proposed. Jason has always wanted a child, I know, but I've been unwilling to get pregnant. This might also be one of the reasons we've been growing apart. But Jason, have you forgotten the vows you made the last time you knelt? If you don't love, then leave, don't deceive, and don't betray. And there's a saying I've always believed to be true: a scumbag is born a scumbag. No matter what you do for him, you can't change his nature. Do you think having a child with a scumbag will tie down his restless heart? No. It's only the woman who is trapped. Watching Jason kneel before me, I feel a bit of pity. Even now, Jason still thinks he is Penny's savior, her light, deeply loved and relied upon by her. He doesn't realize that in Penny's eyes, he is merely a tool for revenge against me, a tool that can even provide her with a kidney, making it absolutely perfect. On the contrary, I, out of consideration for our past as a couple, have been trying to prevent all of this from happening. Forget it. I'll make one last effort, Jason. This is the last time I'll help you. Whether she is saved or not is not up to me, but up to you. To save the child, we must take the risk of performing a kidney transplant for Penny during her pregnancy. After the transplant, she will need to use a large amount of immunosuppressive drugs, which can cause severe adverse reactions in the fetus, leading to stillbirth or congenital malformations. The only hope is to find a kidney source with an extremely high match rate, such as a 4-point match, to minimize the use of anti-rejection drugs. I stared into Jason's eyes. Jason, transplant your kidney to save the child, or abort the child to keep your kidney. You decide. Jason lay on the operating table. He made a choice I had long anticipated. This is an unprecedented kidney transplant surgery during pregnancy, and the hospital is taking it very seriously, with everything being carried out according to the highest standards. I quietly glanced at Jason through the glass. All the hair on his body had been shaved off, making him look somewhat more adorable. The nurse had already inserted the needle for the general anesthesia induction medication, and the anesthesiologist was closely observing Jason's reactions. Later, slightly reduced the dosage of the anesthetic gas. His antithrombin activation is on the lower side, and an excessive dose of anesthesia could potentially cause cardiac arrest. I suddenly spoke to the anesthesiologist, who gave me a surprised look. Okay, he reluctantly nodded. I knew why the anesthesiologist was surprised. In terms of status, the anesthesiologist is higher than the lead surgeon. I couldn't order him to do anything, and I wasn't even Jason's lead surgeon. Live kidney transplantation requires simultaneous surgery on both the donor and the recipient, and removing the kidney is the simplest step, something any surgeon could handle. The real key was the transplant surgery, which I, as a nephrologist, performed on Penny, watching the surgeon who had been assigned to assist begin the procedure. I returned to my own operating table. The two surgeries were conducted in the same operating room, separated only by a glass partition, and even the anesthesiologist was the same. Penny was pregnant, so she couldn't undergo general anesthesia and had to proceed with local anesthesia instead, remaining fully conscious throughout. Seeing me pick up the scalpel, she gave a faint smile. Dr. Sarah, I'm counting on you. I know you have issues with me, but rest assured, even if the surgery fails, I won't blame you. All the medical staff, including the anesthesiologist, instinctively looked at me, but I no longer cared. After all, I had long become the laughingstock of the entire hospital. I also knew why Penny said such things at this moment. Clearly, she was afraid I would retaliate, so she wanted to preemptively corner me in public. This means that this surgery of mine can only succeed, not fail. Even the slightest mistake could ruin my career and even land me in prison. Shut up, I said coldly. Making the cut with a single stroke, the surgery was a success. It can truly be called a benchmark of my career. The nurses wheeled the two patients into the ICU, and I stayed right there in the ICU. The hours following a kidney transplant are a critical period. If hyperacute rejection occurs, immediate surgery is required to remove the organ. However, the probability of this is extremely low. Both Penny and Jason have stable vital signs, and all indicators are very optimistic. Even without the use of anticoagulants, Penny's newly transplanted kidney has naturally restored its blood supply. It was so smooth that it felt as if this kidney had always been Penny's, just accidentally grown inside Jason's body. Penny remained fully conscious throughout the process. Watching the nurse walk away, she suddenly spoke. I didn't expect you to really put your heart and soul into helping me with the surgery, Sarah. Do you regret it? Regret what? I said coldly. Unable to see my expression, Penny felt regretful. Back then, you knew I had congenital renal tubular dysplasia and that kidney failure was inevitable, yet you still competed with me for the nephrology position, cutting off my last hope. Have you ever regretted it? Penny was very serious, and my response was a cold laugh. Penny wanted to become a nephrologist because, in a way, nephrologists hold the power to allocate kidneys. I have never regretted it, I sneered and replied. Master actually knew long ago that you would need a kidney transplant to save your life someday. That's exactly why he chose me, not you. Why? Because Master said, a doctor should be a pure doctor, must have medical ethics, not use medicine for personal gain, always put the patient first, and take it as their duty to relieve the patient's suffering. Medical ethics, put the patient first. Penny scoffed. Sarah, would you put the patient first, if Jason doesn't donate a kidney? Would you give me one of yours? I would, I answered without hesitation. Sarah, I can't believe you've learned to be shameless too. Penny was still sneering, and I shook my head, not arguing with her on this issue. Be good to Jason in the future. After all, his love for you is genuine. I felt a bit conflicted as I said this, while Penny widened her eyes in surprise. What are you thinking, Sarah? You don't even want such a lousy man. So why would I? He donated a kidney for you. Can't that even earn a shred of gratitude from you? Penny had just had surgery, so she was holding back, but I could still tell she was laughing inside. Gratitude? What is there to be grateful for? A man like this, who's as unfaithful as a dog, only you would treat him like a treasure, even knowing he cheated and still defending him, but you still ended up pregnant with his child. Penny finally couldn't hold back and laughed. Sarah, you don't really think this is his child, do you? A strange smile played on her face. Is he even worthy of having a child with me? Even if he were, could we even conceive? Don't forget, the more matching targets there are, the harder it is to have a child. Is this child just a tool for your revenge? I took a deep breath. Penny was right. Her and Jason's leukocyte antigen compatibility was too high, making the probability of successfully conceiving a child extremely low, as proven in many kidney transplant cases involving couples, of course. Otherwise, why would I insist on getting pregnant before my hospitalization and surgery? Only this way, you or Jason will donate a kidney to me. Penny looked frantic, staring at me intently. This is what you owe me, Sarah. I looked at Penny with a complicated expression. So, you actually don't care about the effects of surgery or medication on the child. It's just a prop. Why should I care? I sighed and shook my head. Penny, you'll get what's coming to you. I'll be waiting. Penny replied thus. Penny stayed in the ICU for 2 days and was immediately transferred to ZN Hospital. She mercilessly abandoned Jason, who had just donated a kidney to her. I took a long leave and rented a place to live on my own. The kidney transplant for Penny caused quite a stir in the medical field, as it was the first successful case of a kidney transplant performed on a pregnant patient in the country. Some hospitals invited me to share insights and even extended job offers. Jason was still receiving treatment at our hospital, but I didn't want to see him every day, nor did I want to get involved in the complications between him and Penny. After all, it's over between him and me. We just need to sign the divorce papers, but obviously, this matter wouldn't be resolved so easily. One evening 2 months later, I suddenly received a call from a colleague. Dr. Sarah, are you in town right now? Yes. Why, what's up? Great, there's a patient who wants to see you. Please come to our hospital quickly. I rushed to the hospital, and as soon as I put on the sterile gown and entered the emergency room, I saw Penny lying on the emergency bed, covered in blood. What happened? I asked the emergency doctor beside me. The victim has suffered 7 stab wounds to the chest and abdomen, with severe damage to multiple organs, leading to organ failure. I was taken aback. What about her child? The emergency doctor, of course, also knew who Penny was. He shook his head. The child is fine. To minimize the impact on the fetus and ensure Penny's recovery, ZN Hospital performed an induced labor at 37 weeks. The child is currently in the neonatal unit at ZN Hospital and is said to be very healthy. I breathed a sigh of relief and pointed at Penny. What about her now? There's no saving her. It's multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. The emergency doctor shrugged and gave me a meaningful look. At her request, we administered a stimulant. You have at most 5 minutes left. The emergency doctor stepped out, and I walked over to Penny with mixed emotions. You're here, Penny said, her voice weak and her appearance gaunt. You're going to die, I remarked with a sigh. I know. Multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. I heard it. Penny fell silent, and I didn't speak either, feeling a mix of emotion and relief. To put it simply, multiple organ dysfunction syndrome means multiple organs are failing at the same time, and even a miracle can't save her. Don't be fooled by the fact that she can still talk. It's entirely due to the effects of adrenaline and other medications. How did you convince Jason to come and kill me? Penny suddenly asked. My eyebrows twitched. Did Jason stab you? At a time like this, what are you still pretending for? On the day of the surgery, you told the anesthesiologist to reduce the anesthesia dosage. Wasn't it just to make Jason wake up early? Penny sneered lightly. You've misunderstood. I did intentionally make Jason wake up early, but it wasn't to let him take revenge on you. It was to have him protect that child. Penny's face suddenly turned pale, and her breathing quickened. You knew all along. Yes, I nodded. Penny's eyes began to glaze over. Sarah, you're so cruel. Are you even fit to be a doctor? Her electrocardiogram turned into a flat line. I went to see Jason for the last time. Jason was sentenced to death for intentional homicide, causing death in an extremely sensitive location like a hospital, in front of countless doctors and patients, with an extremely negative impact. He requested to see me before his execution, so I went to the detention center, which is where lethal injections are carried out. We hadn't seen each other for almost 2 years since that surgery, and when I saw him again, it felt like an eternity had passed. I was holding a baby girl in my arms, the very child Penny had given birth to. The baby girl was 1 year and 5 months old, very adorable. Apart from being a bit thin and small, she was healthy and clever, already able to babble and call out to people. Jason was wearing handcuffs and leg irons. He looked at the baby girl with a face full of hatred. "Why did you bring her here?" he asked me. "Bring her to see her father," I answered seriously. "Sarah, are you here to laugh at me?" Jason's eyes began to redden, a sign of his anger. "No, she is your daughter, your biological daughter." Jason froze, looking at me in confusion. "What do you mean? Didn't you say Penny and I couldn't have children?" "You and Penny can't have children. But with me, you can," I calmly explained. "You." Jason was clearly taken aback. "Yes, when you took Penny to Hong Kong for treatment, she secretly underwent IVF using my egg cells, but I didn't provide the sperm. She graduated from medical school. You've slept with her so many times. Is it really that hard to collect a sample?" I looked at Jason mockingly, and he clearly couldn't wrap his head around it. "Why would she do that?" "Because your kidney can only last up to 10 years. She wants to use this child as a backup kidney source. You're blood type O, and so am I, so the child will definitely be type O. You match 4 targets, and I match 2, the child will almost certainly be a match for her." Jason's face turned ferocious, and he suddenly stepped forward, making the shackles clatter loudly. "You're not messing with me, are you?" "No, everything I said is true," I sighed. Jason's sudden move caused the police to react instinctively, pinning him to the ground forcefully. Jason, however, seemed oblivious, desperately raising his head to look at the baby girl in my arms. "Remember, our daughter is named Alice Smith, with my surname." I took one last look at Jason and turned to leave. "Penny and I are actually in the same boat. Penny has a hereditary absence of renal tubules, while I was born with a pituitary gland dysfunction that makes me unable to conceive. It is precisely because we both have congenital diseases that Penny and I are incredibly close, so close that she agreed to carry a pregnancy for me, and I promised to donate a kidney to her. For this reason, she accompanied me to Hong Kong to freeze my eggs, and I accompanied her to her nephrology internship. However, Penny is naturally strong-willed and suspicious. She simply didn't believe that I would actually donate a kidney to her. She wanted to take her fate into her own hands. She worked hard to secure the opportunity to become a nephrologist, but our mentor chose me instead. Years of close friendship instantly fell apart. When she reappeared years later, she had forgotten the promise we made back then, remembering only my betrayal. In her previous life, she used the most vicious means to take revenge on me, using Jason to force me to donate a kidney, and then forcing me to transplant the kidney of the daughter she gave birth to for her. It wasn't until I died under the knife of the enraged Jason that I vaguely guessed the truth. The first thing I did after being reborn was to start confirming it. When Penny was undergoing her first dialysis at the hospital where I worked, I had already flown to Hong Kong to retrieve the frozen eggs under my name. After testing, it was found that they did not match me. Since there was no DNA sample from Penny for comparison, it could only be determined that the blood type was also O. When Penny was 4 months pregnant, I took the opportunity of confirming her kidney compatibility to perform an amniocentesis, extracting fetal cells and sending them to a professional institution for paternity testing. The test results confirmed that the child was indeed mine. In my past life, I actually personally removed my own daughter's kidney. "Sarah, take good care of Alice Smith, and we're even." I was almost at the gate of the detention center when Jason's hoarse shout suddenly came from behind. My footsteps paused slightly. "Yes, Penny, Jason, we're all even now. Mommy, don't cry." A sudden warmth touched my face as Alice Smith's small, tender hand gently stroked my cheek. Mom didn't cry." I pressed my face against Alice Smith's cheek. Soft, smooth, and very comforting. Penny was right with her last words. In this lifetime, I truly no deserve to be a doctor anymore, but I can be a good mother. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel.